After his UFC debut, Paddy has been causing a stir amongst the MMA community. There is so much speculation surrounding the trajectory of his UFC career. Let's get into what we know about the prospect of Pimblett's future in the UFC. UFC can market him as the next big thing since Bisping's retirement. Since the 2017 retirement of Michael Bisping, the UFC hasn't had a major British superstar. Simply hailing from a different country to the USA or Brazil can always give prospects a leg up, regardless of the UFC being filled with a countless number of fighters who hope to become superstars. It is a known fact that the UFC wants to be just as huge across the world, and the promotion is already well established in the countries mentioned prior. However, that means finding homegrown superstars to market on the international stage is still a very big aspect of it all. Could Pimblett fill the gap of the expectations Darren Till failed to meet, despite UFC constantly pushing him? It is a very likely possibility. Paddy the Baddy has the fact that he looks like a rock star with his shaggy hair, making him look like a throwback to the age of Britpop working in his favor. Moreover, he talks a good game and is also an immensely charismatic fighter with an exciting style in the cage, so that helps. Paddy the Moneymaker. It's fairly easy to imagine a scenario where the UK fan base would elevate him into superstardom, especially if he can get a handful of wins under his belt in the UFC, starting off by defeating Luigi Vendramini this weekend. In the event that this happens, he could become a money-making machine in the eyes of the UFC. It's clear that Pimblett has similar ideas, given that he's already stated a dream to headline a UFC show at Liverpool's Anfield Stadium. He has the sort of personality fans adore. UFC fans find the reckless abandon in which Pimblett fights endearing. There are definitely fighters who have become big stars, even though they have a less than entertaining style in the octagon. But in all honesty, they've been exceptions to this particular rule, an example being Shael Sonnen or Tito Ortiz, two fighters who aren't the most entertaining to watch, but the sheer amount of charisma they possess reeled fans in regardless. UFC's superstars have almost always been massively entertaining inside and outside of the octagon. There probably isn't a single McGregor, Rousey, or Diaz fight that has been dull and uninteresting to fans. It seems like no fans are likely to label Pimblett a dull fighter to watch either, and good for him because he wants to join the ranks of those fighters in the higher pantheon of UFC stardom. Moreover, he holds a pretty impressive record as well, especially his finishing rate. 5 of his 16 wins have been by KO or TKO, while the remaining have been by submission, 2 of which were ultra-rare flying triangle chokes. Pimblett's aggression may get in the way. When he's in the cage, Paddy Pimblett is aggressive to a fault. It could be argued that his willingness to hunt for submissions, as well as the sheer aggression he exhibits, actually cost him in his most recent defeats. Even though observers may advise him to tone down the aggression and recklessness, this could cost him against the higher level of opponents he'll be facing in the UFC. So he shouldn't be making this mistake whatsoever. He's currently on the path Diaz followed, leading him to become the star he is today. Regardless of losses, that reckless aggression will undoubtedly render him endearing to UFC fans across the world. If he manages to bag wins in a completely off-the-wall fashion, he's sure to become a star. He's likely to become McGregor 2.0. So something everyone has noticed is the fact that Pimblett and McGregor have very similar personas. Just like McGregor, Pimblett is a natural when it comes to the microphone. Back in March 2013, it was instantly clear that he was destined for stardom when Conor McGregor first arrived in the UFC. In their first trip to the octagon, other fighters have scored more impressive knockouts, but this megastar impressed the masses in his UFC debut win over Marcus Brimage. Most notably, when it came to his ability to talk a good game, it's what really set the Irishman apart, as well as his natural charisma. Even if he hadn't reached the level that he did, or had been unable to back up his words inside the octagon, his skills with the microphone still would have made him a cult favorite. It's safe to say that Paddy Pimblett is just as comfortable with a microphone as the Irishman ever was, while he perhaps still isn't as witty as McGregor was back in those days. He's self-assured, and UFC fans eat that up. Part self-deprecating, part hugely self-confident is what some might call a stereotypical Scouse level of charisma, which is what Pimblett is bringing with him to the UFC. Pimblett has already labeled his arrival in the world's biggest MMA promotion as inevitable, prior to his UFC debut this weekend. Moreover, the Baddy has claimed that he is not only the biggest signing of 2021, but the biggest signing of the decade. He's likely to overcome Luigi Vendramini in his UFC debut, but whether or not Pimblett can back up his mouth inside the octagon is still a question mark. He could talk himself right into stardom if he does that and is granted a post-fight interview. Even if he can't ascend to the same heights as the Irishman, it's easy to imagine a scenario in which he replicates McGregor's rise to fame. That is, if he can do what he's claimed to be capable of. Dana White also believes Pimblett has the same capability to reach stardom as McGregor. After winning his UFC debut last September, the Liverpudlian is in action at UFC London this weekend against Kazula Vargas, where he's looking to improve his record to 17-3. The MMA promotion could have a major star on their hands, as Paddy has quickly captured the mixed martial arts fans' imagination with his slick talking and explosive style style inside the octagon. While speaking to talkSPORT, Dana White said that Pimblett had the same effect on him as McGregor, reiterating that he knew he was going to be a big star as soon as he met him. White knows people love Paddy. All the young fighter has to do is put in the work and start winning fights. He continued by saying people fell in love with McGregor and the Irishman came to UFC and carried out what he set out to do. If Paddy can do the same, he's going to be a superstar. With stars like Molly McCann, Craig and Tom Aspinall all on the rise in addition to Pimblett, UFC London has a stacked card this year, which has Dana White over the moon. He knows it's a big deal for the UK, and he's immensely excited to see how the fights play out. In addition to White's comments, Pimblett has said he would like it to be inside a stadium in the UK, preferably Anfield, home to his beloved Liverpool, when he does fight for a title down the line. Thankfully, the UFC president seems very open to this idea, saying that all the UK talent has to do is keep winning and the big stadium show is a possibility. When asked about a future stadium show, White said that this Saturday would be a big deal as far as determining the fate of a stadium show. He went on to say they'll see what's possible in the UK over the next couple of years, if these UK stars can win this weekend and continue their rise in the ranks. What are Paddy's thoughts about fans finding him endearing? Last September, Paddy Pimblett brought the excitement everyone expected from him in his UFC debut against Luigi Vendramini. He believes that the fight was a good opener for him to show everyone what he's about, and he finds it funny that people see him as a strike now when he's far from it. However, he knows where it's stemming from. Pimblett calls himself a normal lad and says he isn't putting on a persona like Covington, for example. He thinks the fans like the fact that he's being himself inside and outside the cage. Regardless of how big his MMA career gets, the Liverpool lightweight is as genuine as it gets. Pimblett has never strayed from who he is, and it looks like he may be one of those rare ones who never will. And while no one knows the future, what people do know is that he is a man of the people, right down to his love for fast food. He knows that money changes people, and he is actively trying to avoid that. He has his family, friends, and fiancé, which he says it's all about. Everything else is secondary. Don't mistake this for Pimblett being a shrinking violet. The man has been chasing after his dreams and fame for years, and it's only getting started. He's known since he was a kid that he was going to make it big, and he says he won't rest until he reaches his goals. That's all we have for you today, folks, but we'll be back with more interesting videos. So keep your eyes peeled to stay informed about the sports industry and keep watching our videos. Tell us what you think about the fate of Paddy's UFC career by sounding off in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe before leaving. Signing off.